Hey, what's going on, guys? How is everybody doing? So there's something really special when it comes to 5 stars. Rolling a 5-star in your first 10 roll, or maybe you don't actually have to hit pity and you get that special yellow glowing light, and then you get the 5-star and it feels so good. But you know, 5 stars aren't exactly worth it all the time. In fact, a lot of the 4 stars are actually better than some of the 5 stars in this game. So in this video, I want to show off a team comprised of entirely 4 stars that has the performance of a team utilizing some of the best 5 stars in the game. And as a special bonus, 2 of them are currently on banner right now. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. So this is the team that I want to jump into. That is Bennett, Chongyun, Xingqiu, and Sucrose. Both Bennett and Sucrose are both on banner right now, and Chongyun was just on the last banner. So it's entirely likely that if you've been rolling or you've just been looking for 4 stars, that you probably have most of this team. Xingqiu was just on banner a couple banners ago. But this team is super solid. Now, when we're looking at it, you might think, well, who's our carry? Because we got kind of a lot of support units here, and that's true. But keep in mind that a lot of the units that you might think are dedicated support units don't have to be in that particular slot. So for this team specifically, our carry is going to be Bennett. Now, we've already talked on this channel about how Bennett is an insane support unit, but what we didn't talk about was how Bennett can be an insane carry. So we're going to be looking at his kit, and I'm going to be showing off some gameplay of this team in action on floor 12, and just to show you guys that this team is perfectly capable of clearing floor 12. We'll also be talking about all the other 3 units and how these are really beast units, and if you want to go about building this team, these heroes are really going to be interchangeable on all your other teams, so you're really not going to be disappointed in building any of these. So without further ado, let's hop right in and talk about the character builds themselves. So first up, we have Bennett, who's our carry, and we've already kind of discussed about why Bennett is a good support, and really it's all because of his burst. His burst is absolutely insane. So just in case you don't know why his burst is so good, basically, whenever you use it, if a character is standing in the circle he creates, if they're under 70% health, he's going to heal them. But the big thing is that if you can get that character higher to 70% health, he's going to be giving them some of their attack based on his attack. Now, if he's your carry, well, you might think, well, why do I care about that? He's the carry. He's going to be doing all the damage. Well, he can also gain the boost. So that's incredibly important. Now, when you get his burst up to high levels, you know, we're looking here at 106% of his attack bonus is being given to whatever our unit is on the field, which is incredibly high. But also, if we are to get him up to constellations, now, if we're looking at constellations, I highly recommend getting him to constellation 1. Now, if you're not one who wants to hunt down constellations, you're in luck, because constellation 1 is easily his best constellation and the one you're going to get the most value out of. So basically what it's going to do is it's going to make it so that his burst no longer has a restriction on HP to give an attack boost to your friendly unit. So now they can be at 2% health and he's still going to transfer over his attack to those friendly units. Also, he's transferring an additional 20% of his attack to those units. So that's absolutely nuts. So when people talk about why he's such an insane support unit, that's why. Now, keep in mind that this is not his overall attack. This is just his base attack. So it is not this 1,100 number. It's going to be this 701 number. So, you know, looking at this, I'm getting 126% thrown at whatever hero is in that radius, and it doesn't matter their health. So that's why it's not that big of a deal that his attack is only 1,100, which is pretty low for a carry. But when we combine it with his burst and some of the reaction damages we can cause with future heroes that we will be talking about, this 1,100 is not going to be as big of a deal. Now, when it comes to builds, looking at weapons, easily the best sword carry weapon in the game is Black Sword. So we did just get a new battle pass, so if you haven't gotten the battle pass weapon yet, I do highly recommend the Black Sword. Black Sword, I found, is just the best weapon on the banner. First of all, you have built-in crit rate as a passive, which is incredibly strong, but also the passive skill itself is going to increase the damage of your normal in charge attacks by 20%, which is very big on a carry since they are going to be the ones doing like 90% of your auto attacks, which is super nice. Plus, they have that added passive that it will regenerate 60% of attack as HP whenever attacks score a critical hit. So, because our carries are more than likely going to be built towards critical hits, they're going to kind of have a little bit of self-sustain, plus Bennett already has self-sustain built into his burst, so the Black Sword is really like the best way to go. The Flute would be good on him, or if you want to go up to a 5-star, Skyward Blade would be better than Aquila Favonia, since we're not going to be building him as a physical carry, more of an elemental carry, kind of like a Diluc Light. But if you're looking at any other weapons, you really don't have to look for energy recharge weapons, because that's more of a supporting build, since he'll be off the field more time than not. This build, we really don't have to worry about energy recharge, so just keep that in mind when you're picking out a weapon. Now, looking forward to his artifacts, again, we're going to be building him very similarly to a Diluc. So we're going to be looking at the Crimson Witch of the Flames set, because most of the damage he's going to be doing is pyro damage based off his skill and his burst. In terms of substats, what we're prioritizing, overall, it's going to be crit, 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 crit. We want to get that crit as high as possible, because Bennett's attacks don't hit that hard by themselves. So we want to be prioritizing crit rate and crit damage. The closer, you can get to 100%, the better. I know that's quite difficult, but if you put the Black Sword on him, overall, it doesn't make it as difficult to get up that high. If you have some lucky rolls, and okay, don't follow this main stat. This piece is literally here because it has great crit stats. I would probably put attack here. Attack is going to be better overall than elemental mastery, but because he is actually triggering the elements, elemental mastery is actually not too bad. We just got pretty lucky with the substats here. And on his cup, we're going to want pyro damage as opposed to physical damage, because most of our attacks are going to be pyro based. So pyro, we're going to be doing much more damage, and on our reactions there as well. But as I was saying, you want to be prioritizing crit with him because his hits don't hit that hard. So having a crit rate hat plus a Black Sword is going to give you a lot of crit rate, and it's going to take the need off of your substats. And then in terms of his talents, you really want to be prioritizing his burst, because his burst is going to, increase the amount of attack that you're transferring over to your other allies. Plus it's going to increase the healing. So overall, that's going to be best. And even his skill is going to be best. I don't put a lot of stock in his basic attack, even though he is doing it most of the time, just because his basic attack is pretty weak, and we are doing most of our damage based on reactions from the skill and burst. Having that extra bonus damage go to his support units is really going to balance out with the increase in basic attack. So that's why I'm not really investing in the basic attack any more than level 6. That's pretty much the baseline for me. Now, moving on to Chongyun. Chongyun is super easy. Now, I do have him level 70, and he does have some artifacts on him, but overall, it's really not that important to have him super built out, because he's basically there for 2 reasons. He's there to use his E and basically make a bunch of cryo triggers so we can get a bunch of melt procs, and he's there to break Electrofatui shields. Those are pretty much the only reasons that we have him here. So really, you don't have to put a lot of investment into Chongyun. He's really not there for damage, but his best weapon is going to be the Sacrificial Greatsword. So that way we can get a couple E's out of him, since his cooldown is a little bit longer, and we can get a little bit of energy recharge on him, so that way we can get a bunch of burst activations. Artifact build, really not important here. Really, we're just looking for the fact that he does very consistent cryo damage. Next up, we have Xingqiu, and Xingqiu is an absolute monster. In terms of weapons, we're definitely going to want to prioritize Sacrificial Sword. If you don't have it, this is almost a deal breaker. Without Sacrificial Sword, he is so much worse, especially if you can get its refinement level up, because the fact is that his skill has a very, very long cooldown. It's 21 seconds, I think. And we want his burst up all the time if possible. So with a highly refined Sacrificial Sword, you're pretty consistently going to be able to get 2 skills out of him per cooldown. And with his energy recharge high enough, you'll be able to get your burst up pretty much all the time, especially with the fact that Bennett can just generate energy so quickly. So can pretty much anyone on this team. Sucrose is also very good at generating energy. So we want to prioritize his burst, making sure that's up as much as possible, because that's mostly where we're going to be getting the damage out of Xingqiu. As far as artifacts, right now I have him on a 4-piece Noblesse Oblige set. Now, as I'm thinking about this, it might actually be beneficial to move this 4-piece set over to Chongyun, because like I said, we aren't really using him for damage, so that 2-piece cryo set might not actually be beneficial. It might be beneficial to have a 4-piece set on Chongyun, and for Xingqiu have a 2-piece Noblage set, so that way we do get the elemental burst damage, but we put a 2-piece Hydro set on him, because with him we are looking for damage. So that way we still have one of our units having a 4-piece Noblesse Oblige set, but Chongyun can be prioritizing doing more damage. So that's what I think is actually better. In terms of talents, get that burst up as high as you can. He's not going to be doing a lot of damage on his basic attack, so you don't need a lot of levels here. You can get his skill up to level 6, and if you want to go higher, you can, but overall, most of his damage is going to be coming from his burst, and especially when you start getting him higher constellations, you're going to be just shredding Hydra resist. You're going to be getting more damage off of his rain sword procs. It's just insane. So build him for his burst and you won't go wrong. And lastly, we have Sucrose, and Sucrose is an interesting one. I will admit, I just recently put her on this team because she was also on banner with Bennett, so it made sense to make a team with these two. However, she did replace Zhongling. Now, I liked having Zhongling because you got that pyro resonance and you got a little bit more pyro damage, which is very good when it comes to later game Abyss, because you do need a lot of pyro damage. And I did actually find that I was missing that pyro damage, but I do like the added damage that Sucrose brings, and she might be better specifically for content that isn't cryo based, because, you know, with all the slimes being cryo, you swirl it and you end up just doing a bunch of cryo swirl, which they're immune to, and it's not exactly the best synergy. But for content that isn't so hard cryo based, I do like Sucrose a lot better than Zhongling. Now, when building your Sucrose, really you want to go for like elemental mastery, for energy recharge, or for a Nemo damage, which is only going to be found on her cup. But when it comes to weapons, her best weapon, again, by far, Sacrificial Fragments. This weapon is incredibly good. You're going to be getting another elemental skill a lot of the time, because with higher constellation, she gets another skill basically in the bank, so she can hold 2 skills at a time. So with higher percentages, you're going to have more of a chance to get a 3rd skill, and that's going to generate a lot of energy, which is super important for her because her burst does cost 80 energy, which is more expensive. But the fact that this team generates so much energy is really good for her, so it doesn't necessarily hurt her that her burst costs so much. And looking at her artifacts, really the only way to go, in my opinion, is Viridescent Veneer. Viridescent Veneer is just like the best set in the game. So the fact that you get Anima bonus damage is nice, but what really kicks us up a notch is the 4-piece set. So you increase your swirl damage by 60%, which is already really big. But the fact that you decrease your opponent's elemental resistance to the element infused in the swirl by 40 seconds is massive. That is a ton of extra damage. Now, the question is, which element do you want to swirl on this team? And I've been trying to figure out, and I think what it comes down to, I think that Pyro is the best element to swirl on this team because it's going to be the easiest to combine reactions with your other 2 units, being Xingqiu and Chongyun. You know, if you were to swirl like the cryo from Chongyun, for example, you could get a lot of damage from Bennett, but then you're only getting freezes from Xingqiu, which isn't that great. And, you know, likewise, if you swirl Hydro, you're going to get a lot of damage from Bennett, but your Chongyun is just going to be getting a lot of freezes. So I think that because you can get melt and vaporize triggers if you swirl Pyro, and then also the fact that you're lowering the elemental resistance of Pyro. If you bring Bennett in and do Pyro damage, he's going to be doing a lot more damage. You want to be swirling Pyro damage most of the times. Crit is always nice, but if you got stats, substats with elemental mastery, that's going to be a way to go. Energy recharge is also extremely nice. When looking at her timepiece, you either want to go with energy recharge or elemental mastery. I'm going with energy recharge just because I like having my burst up more than I necessarily like having overall more damage on across her skill and burst and attack. On the cup, of course, you want Anemo bonus damage because all of her damage is Anemo. And on your hat, what do you want? Well, I like having this attack piece simply because it's got a bunch of crit, but you're probably better off going with a crit piece. I just don't have one at this time. And then lastly, in terms of talents, we're going to want to make sure that her skill and burst are up there in terms of levels. I haven't even focused on her normal attack because that's not what she's here for. She's basically never using her normal attack. So I just save resources and I don't even bother investing. Just working on her skill and burst is going to be more than enough. So that is the team and how you should go about building it. So for the rest of this video, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to get out of here, and I'm just going to show you guys the gameplay from this team that was Floor 12. I'll be back for the outro, of course, but for now, just sit back, relax, and take a look at this team in action. So hopefully you guys like the team, and hopefully it shows you that you don't need 5 stars to absolutely destroy this game. These 4 stars are basically 5 stars themselves. The power level is absolutely off the charts. This banner really is like one of the best banners we've ever had, and especially now that Albedo is climbing up in terms of priority for me. I think it actually is the best banner we've ever had. So if you were considering rolling on it for Albedo or the 4 stars, maybe this will show you that these 4 stars are absolutely nuts and definitely worth rolling on. But guys, that's all I got for today. Hopefully you did enjoy. If you want to see some more content like this from me, you can head over to my Twitch page, twitch.tv/xjazzy. Stream there Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Eastern evenings. Or if you want to support us right here on YouTube, you can go ahead, click that red subscribe button, like the video if you liked it, and click that notification bell. That way you never miss a video. And if you want to join our community over at Discord, link will be down in the description below. But guys, that's all I got for today. Hopefully you did enjoy, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.